Welcome to today's session, Getting Started with Charts. Charting is easier and quicker than you think. My name is Eliza Little. I'm a product trainer here at Quickbase. During today's session, you are welcome to build along with me. I'm going to be using an application that you can find in the Exchange, and we'll show you how to get that later. But don't worry, this session is recorded, so if you're not able to follow along with me, you can always re-listen to it and build along with the recording. Before we get into our agenda for this session, let's talk about what you can expect to know after this session. Charts are at the core of creating consolidated data from many sources, even outside of Quickbase. First, it's easy to get started with charts. Charts can be used in many business applications, from creating charts to show ROI to helping your sales team know their pipeline and their opportunities. There are many chart options to choose from. Charts are flexible. You can adjust them to show exactly the data you want and in the visual format that makes the most sense. Once you have the charts set up, you can display them on the table or a dashboard so that your team is able to hone in on what is most important. Charts are also dynamic. You can drill down into segments on the charts to show the specifics as you need. Here's the agenda for what we're going to be covering in our session. We're going to be taking a high-level view of chart types. We're going to be creating a bar and a stacked bar chart. We'll create a pie chart. We'll then change the drill down report for that pie chart. We're also going to be building a chart with data from two different tables. All right, let's dive in. So with several charts available, how do you know which one to use? Well, that depends on the data and the purpose of your chart. If you're looking to show comparison, you're going to want to set up a bar chart. For data comparison, comparing total revenue per month, use a bar or a horizontal bar chart. If you're wanting to compare revenue per month per product, use a stacked or a horizontal stacked bar chart. To show trends, you have three chart options. If you want to see changes in a value, such as a product sales by region, a line chart is a good option. If you want to go a step deeper and compare data sets that have a different value, such as revenue by project, you can combine a line and a bar chart. An area chart shows over time how products relate by trend. This would also be a good chart to show the contribution per product to profit over time. If you want to show proportions, a pie chart would be the best chart to use. A funnel chart can display progress through any process, such as a project development cycle or sales pipeline. This particular funnel chart shows opportunities by stage, from prospecting to a closed or won status. Charts can also show relationships. A bubble chart allows you to visualize 3 dimensions of data on a single chart. The bubbles will vary in size according to the value in the field. This can be used to show the prospect sales opportunities per week by dollar amount, the probability of close, and the stage in the sales cycle. A scatter chart makes it easy to visualize how one data set affects the resulting data set as how a project cost affects the return on investment. A gauge chart measures progress against a goal. You would set the number that the gauge starts at and then the goal. One example is how you can use a gauge to show the total number of units sold against the goal of what you would like to sell. The last chart I would like to introduce to you is a waterfall chart. This chart can be used to illustrate a cumulative effect of changing data. Most use it to show financial changes due to positive and negative values. Now, for the rest of our presentation, we're going to pretend that we have a podcast company. Our podcast company is called Fly Away With Me Podcasts. We recently started a podcast company to keep people up to date on all the latest travel deals and destination hotspots. Right now, it's just a part-time gig, and you will run it with a small team. You need to make sure that everyone is using their time wisely and delivering relevant content on schedule. So here are the requirements that we're looking for. We need to track how much time it takes to develop an episode. We need to gather the ratings for an episode to see how well it was received. And we need to find travel-related sponsors. Those are all requirements that we could answer through reports. Let's take a look at our first type of report. Now, to find out who has been assigned to what podcast and where in the cycle they are, we can create a bar chart. Now, this application is in the Exchange under the name of Fly Me Away Podcast. All right, I've got it up here on my screen. And this application has 4 tables. Episodes have many tasks, and sponsors have many activities. Now, if I want to see exactly how much time is being spent per episode, let's go ahead and click on the episodes here. You might notice that I do have a field where I have allocated the time per hours. I've also allocated how much time is being spent per project. So you could see, for example, that on this particular project for my podcast, Viva Las Vegas, I've allowed 35 hours, 28 hours has been spent. Now, I would like to do a field first that would subtract the two of them. It would let me know how many hours I have left. But for this particular bar chart, I want to know how much time has been spent per person, per podcast. So let's go ahead and click up here at the top where it says Reports and Charts. We're going to click here under New. And this pop-up comes up showing us all of our different reporting options. Let's go ahead and click the one that says Chart and Create. All right, we're going to go ahead and name this report. We will name it Time Spent by Episode. Now, a little best practice tip. Most users prefer to give each report a description. That will help your end users when they first come to the report to know exactly what they should be looking for. You could choose which part of the Reports and Charts panel this report goes into. And next, you'll want to choose what type of chart we're going to make. We're going to be doing a bar chart. Okay, so with our bar chart, we're going to pick which axis we want the different data to be on. So our y-axis is our bottom axis, and for this one, I'm going to go ahead and put the time spent for each project. Actually, if you're looking here, you might be noticing that our y-axis is only giving us numeric values. So if we're trying to decide that we want to have our report show us the time spent on each project and we want to see it by episode, we actually might want to flip this. So let's put our time spent for each project on the y, and for our x, let's put this by the episode number. Okay, that's going to give us a much better reading. For the series, we can go ahead and put, let's see here, what would make the most sense. Maybe who's leading it, who's in charge. Okay, so there's all of our names and who's leading the different episodes. Okay, let's go ahead and display this chart and see if it's given us the data we want. Okay, so even though we've got quite a few episodes in there, there's only 2 of our employees who've actually started working on their episodes. So we've just had those 2 bars so far. Now, if we had done this a little bit differently, we might get some other data. So let's take a look at another way that we could look at some of this information. I'm going to go ahead and click on this wrench up here. And let's say, okay, that didn't give us as much data as we would have expected. So what else can we look at? Let's take a look and say, what about the time that we've allotted? So we've allotted this. We still have the same leads. Let's see what that gives us. Ooh, a lot more data here. Okay, so now we can see that we've got a bunch of data allotted, or a bunch of time allotted per the lead. Great. Now, you might be looking at this though, and you might be thinking, well, what if I don't know exactly which episodes these are? Is there a way for me to put the name of the episode here? Let's take a look at that. Let's go back up here to our wrench. And let's see if there is. So we have episode number. Let's see what that gives us. Ah, much better. Now, a few things I want to note real quick here. These users, they haven't been into my application yet. Once they get into my application, they'll register and their names will show up. That'll also make the application look a little better. Also, if I start to add other people to these episodes as being leads, there will be bars that will come up next to these. But this gives me a really good look. It lets me know that Dan here, he is really expecting to spend a lot of time on this episode, where Darcy, her episode is going to be a little quicker. So perhaps if I'm noticing that Dan's getting a little overwhelmed with his episode, I might have Darcy take some time and help Dan out. So that's going to give me an idea of how to help out with this. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save this report. And I'll go ahead and hit OK. And there's our first pie chart, or I'm sorry, our first bar chart. All right, the next chart that I would like to do is a pie chart. Pie charts are a very common report as well. We use the same app, and this time we're going to create a pie chart showing us how much money we potentially have coming in from our sponsors. So we're going to be on a different table this time. All right, let's go ahead and click on our sponsors table. So far, my team has secured just 5 sponsors, but we've received some money from each one of them. So we want to see this total money and the breakdown by sponsor. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here, click Reports and Charts, and then click New. I'm going to click Chart again and click Create. All right, this particular chart I'm going to call okay, so I've got my breakdown by sponsor. Okay. We're going to go ahead and, like I said, we will pick a pie chart. And you'll notice that for the pie chart, we've got some different options. We have our series and our data value. Now, some people will ask, what is the difference between a series and a data value? Well, the data value is the information that is going to be tracked as far as the numeric value, what you want to measure. And the series is what you want to display. So in our case, our series is going to be the sponsor's name. We want to display the sponsors themselves. And our data value is going to be the amount that has been received. Here's our legend up here. We could change the colors if we'd like. We could sort it. We could add in some filters if we wanted. So for example, if we had any sponsors that we hadn't secured yet, we could filter them out to only show us the sponsors who have committed. And then let's go ahead and display this. Okay, here is our pie chart. If we hover over each slice, it will tell us exactly who the sponsor is and how much they have pledged. This way, if our team needs a little extra money, we can come and say, hey, you know, hotels.com has not really given us a lot. Let's go see if we can get some more. Now, each chart does have a drill down report. If I click on one of these slices, it takes me to that drill down report. This particular drill down report is showing me some default data. So it's showing me exactly the sponsor's name, their industry, contact number, so on and so forth. Let's say that I wanted a more tightened up drill down report. Maybe I didn't need to see the agreed on terms or their contact. Maybe I just wanted to see the sponsor, the industry, and the amount. How do we do that? The first thing we would do is we would create that report itself. So let's do that really quick. I'm going to come up here to reports and charts, click on new, and that's just going to be a table report. So I'm going to click create. I'm going to call this report new drill down. Okay, so for our columns to display, I'm going to do a custom column. And I'm just going to pick the company name, the agreed upon term, not the terms. Let's do the amount received. And who it's assigned to. Okay, that's all that I want to see in this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. All right, so there's my drill down, really precise. Let's go back and create that pie chart, and this time we're going to have it reference this new drill down report. So let's click back up here on reports and charts, click on new. We're going to click over here on chart and create. Once again, I'm going to call it amount received by sponsor. We're going to select that's going to be a pie chart. The series will be the sponsor name. The data value will be the amount received. And this time I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom where it says drill down behavior. And I'm going to select that new drill down report. We'll hit save. So there's that same report. And this time when I click a slice, it takes us to our new report. So we're able to create that just fine. Okay, for our last report that we're going to look at, we're going to be creating a bubble chart. And this bubble chart is actually going to have data from two different tables. Now, when you want to have a report that pulls data from two different tables, we want to make sure that the data is on the most child table first. So let's take a look at our current app. So we have our episodes, our tasks. Those two tables are related. Sponsors and activities are also related. But for our bubble chart, if you remember correctly when we looked at the slides, a bubble chart is really good to show relationships. So it could show, for example, prospective sales opportunities by week by dollar amount. It could show the probability of close and the stage in a sales cycle. Okay. So what if we did a bubble chart showing us some opportunities between our episodes and our tasks? Let's take a look at what we might need. I'm going to click over here on my task table. I'll click again on reports and charts. Click on new. Click on chart again. Click on create. And this time I'll click on the type of chart and let's go ahead and do a bubble. Okay. So for a bubble, we do have a y-axis and an x-axis. And so for the y-axis, let's see what we can create here. Let's have our y-axis show our status. And perhaps our x-axis could show the time spent. So this can show us the amount of time that we've been spending on each episode based on the time. All right, the bubble size, we can relate that to the time spent. And let's see what this gives us first. We just have one there. So maybe this bubble chart is not quite what we're looking for. Now, this will happen sometimes when you're creating your reports. You might think that you've got this great report in mind and it's going to work perfectly for your data. But when you actually get it set up, it's not quite what you're looking for. Let's go back. It might be our data. It might be the way we're setting up the report. Let's go back into the settings of the report and see if we can figure out what's going on here. So we have our time spent and our bubble sizes on our time spent as well. Well, let's see here. We have our duration and our number of tasks. Maybe we put that to number of tasks. Let's see. Let's see if this makes a difference. No. All right, I'm thinking that our bubble chart might not be the right answer for this type of report. That's okay. This happens. So one thing that you might want to do when you start to create your reports is play around. There's no harm in clicking around, trying some different reports. It happens to the best of us, even those of us who've worked here for a while. I encourage you to get in, play around with those reports, visualize what you're looking to do. And if you don't have the data you need in here, think about the fact of whether you need to add the data or display the data you have a little differently, whether it be by the type of field you're using or maybe even a different type of report. It's all up to you on how you show that data. We might decide that we want to try a bubble chart in maybe our sponsors table, showing the different sponsors, how much they're donating, and having that show up by a bubble. Maybe that would be better than our pie chart. Lots of wonderful options as far as charting goes. All right, let's go back and talk a little bit about what we have gone over today. So just to remind you, here were our key takeaways from the beginning of the session. It is easy to get started with charts. There are quite a few chart options, and charts are flexible. If you're not finding a chart that fits exactly what you need, try a different chart. Try flip-flopping your data around. Try looking at the data and see if there's a different way to set that data up that'll fit your chart needs. Charts are also dynamic. Oftentimes, especially if we're doing a chart that has several different kinds of axes, try flipping those axes around. Your chart will take on a whole different look, maybe even the look that you want. When in doubt, if you're stuck with charts, our care team is always here to help you out, and they're more than happy to take a look at the chart and help you figure it out how to get it to exactly the way that you want. I appreciate you taking the time to come to today's session. Thank you so much for your time today.